Origins of the Blob. A common enemy of the X-Men and one of the most unusual mutants, who was depowered during M-Day. His Age of Apocalypse counterpart has since replaced him in his various villainous roles after leaving his home reality. Fred J. Dukes was born in Lubbock, Texas. He joined a circus sideshow, using his abilities under the stage name Blob. Professor X sensed his mutant power and sent out his students to locate Dukes. Fred was initially uninterested in the X-Men until he saw Jean Grey. He agreed to go along with them in order to spend time with her. After a battery of tests, Professor X determined that the Blob truly was a mutant and extended him an invitation to become an X-Man. The rest of the team disliked the Blob's obnoxious attitude. Dukes refused to join, claiming he was better and stronger than the entire team. As he tried to leave, the X-Men attempted to restrain him so Professor X could erase the Blob's knowledge of their secret identities. Despite their efforts, the Blob managed to escape. Fred Dukes had always believed himself to be stronger than most other men, but after meeting the X-Men, he knew the true source of his abilities. He was determined not to let anyone else tell him what to do. Returning to the circus, he demanded that the other performers follow his lead. The Blob and his followers raided the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning and tried to take over. The circus performers were able to subdue the X-Men. Alone in the mansion, Xavier perfected a device that would amplify his abilities to control the entire crowd. He mentally instructed Marvel Girl to free the other X-Men, and they were able to get the drop on the Blob. He and the rest of the circus people were stopped by the X-Men and all of their memories of their encounter with the X-Men were erased. Blob and the other performers went back to their dull lives, none having any recollection of the events that transpired. Despite having removed the Blob's memories, Professor Xavier knew that one day the Blob may regain his memories of the X-Men and become a danger to the world once again. Among the Brotherhood, it wouldn't be long before the X-Men found themselves going against Dukes once again and continue as a permanent X-Men villain. Quickly finding himself recruited within Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Dukes would have a career of being a valuable and an expendable member within many incarnations of the Brotherhood. Also joining other groups such as the Factor 3 and holding alliances with other mutant villains as well. Even though that Dukes would find himself constantly being used and betrayed, he would befriend with another gravity-related mutant known as Eunice the Untouchable. Dukes led many attempts on trying to destroy the X-Men and even attempting on framing them for crimes that they never committed. Even though Dukes has found himself being recruited into several groups and held many alliances throughout his career, Eunice was the only trusted friend that Dukes had in his recorded history. After several unsuccessful attempts against the heroic mutant team, Blob once again found himself teaming alongside Magneto despite his recent betrayal. Partaking Magneto's plan on taking over the world by controlling Alpha the Ultimate Mutant's unlimited power, this plan eventually backfired when Alpha turned against the Brotherhood, turning the members into infancy. Probably one of the interesting highlights within Duke's career was when he joined Mystique's government-operated team known as the Freedom Force. Agreeing to work with the group for a full pardon for all the crimes that he has committed, Dukes became a federal agent that was meant to capture and imprison mutants or super-powered threats. Seeing that this team consisted of the original Brotherhood members, their loyalty was tested when given the mission to capture and bring in their founder, Magneto. Even though he was participating in a remembrance ceremony for the Holocaust, the Freedom Force continued with their mission, caring less of the current situation or place. Going against the X-Men who were also on the scene, Magneto halted the fighting by giving himself up so that there wouldn't be any more disgrace for the ceremony's interruption. With their first mission a success, Freedom Force continued their destructive missions by attempting to arrest the X-Men and other numerous mutants under the orders of the government. Even the team found themselves attempting to arrest the Avengers for a crime that they didn't commit. Even though that this team displayed good intentions for the government, the Freedom Force still found themselves going against several teams of X-Men, mutants, and heroes within the Marvel Universe. It wouldn't be long until this group took a serious damaging blow. On a mission in the Middle East, the Freedom Force found themselves in a violent clash with the Arabic team known as Desert Sword. Defeated and taken prisoner along with Pyro, Blob was forced to serve under the command of the Iraqi commander as his personal security guard. This was the last mission that the Freedom Force participated and found itself disbanded when the government replaced Freedom Force with another mutant team known as X-Factor. Powers and abilities. Before being depowered, the Blob was a Gamma-level mutant whose mutant physiology granted him powers that are related to the mass, strength, stamina, endurance, resilience, and indestructibility of his obese body. However, the full extent of his powers were still not fully known. However, Onslaught did teach the Blob the mass-controlling, quasi-shape-shifting aspects of his powers. The Blob did however gain his powers back with the use of a drug called mutant growth hormone or MGH. What makes Dukes unique is his display of mutant abilities. Displaying all of his powers, strength, resistance, and abilities revolve around his abnormal obese physique. Till this day the full extent of his powers are fully not known. Dukes is one of the mutants who displays a mutant ability that causes him to be unpredictable. Easily mistaken as an overweight man, Dukes is hardly as slow as he is easily predicted. In a way, Dukes does gain a somewhat advantage over his opponents with his deceiving ability and his sheer size and intimidating personality. Dukes' main ability is the control of the gravity around him, meaning that he has the mental will to increase the gravity at a short radius that extends 5 feet at most. Due to this ability, even the strongest individuals within the Marvel Universe have had difficulty moving Dukes. When Dukes concentrates at a certain degree, he becomes nearly attached to ground beneath him. However, upon losing concentration, Dukes can be lifted by his natural weight. Even though there are claims that Blob is immovable, there are very few within the Marvel Universe that has proven that claim wrong. Mostly with Dukes' fight against the X-Factor member known as Strong Guy, who managed to lift Dukes fully above his head. Another disadvantage that this ability serves is that the normal size of Dukes' body balances his gravitational pull. Meaning that if he were to shrink to a smaller size, his body would be forced to sink into the ground below him until normal gravity is found to support his current weight. Endurance, control, and pain threshold that Dukes' massive physique can take is another unique trait that Dukes has. The fat tissue throughout his entire body has a unique resistance against projectiles and impact blows. Capable of absorbing impact despite how much pounds are going against him, Dukes could easily absorb and capture the projectile with his body and disperse it at half speed with a flex of his muscle. Meaning that if a cannonball were shot at him, it would be embedded within his body and at will he could cause the cannonball to be recoiled at half speed. Even when capturing any form of projectile with his flesh mostly around the torso area, Dukes has the control of holding the object for a desired amount of time and releasing it with or without recoil pressure. Meaning that if he was punched in the body, he could not only absorb the impact, but also capture and entrap the fist with his body for however long he desires, basically trapping the opponent. With full concentration, Dukes could either release the opponent at will or recoil the punch, literally throwing the opponent off at a powerful distance. But it takes Dukes full concentration and focus to trap an object or individual, and if he were focusing on something else or disrupted by an attack from another, he would lose muscle control and release whatever he is holding with his body. Dukes usually relies on his strength, but for some defensive cases he often uses his large stomach for deflection. Dukes' skin is another uniqueness. A major reason on why he is nearly indestructible is the properties within his epidermis. Dukes' skin cannot cut, punctured, frostbitten, nor damaged by any form of skin disease. Elastic and extremely tough, Dukes' epidermis has an abnormal accelerating rate to where his skin cells could quickly grow and be replaced. However, even though Dukes' body is resistant towards fire, he has shown to be vulnerable towards burning elements. Another limitation that Dukes has is that his facial parts don't share the same durability as the rest of his body, and possibly his inner body as well. Most of Duke's powers and mutant ability normally derives from his mental control and concentration, which is also another vulnerability, seeing that he could lose concentration and he would revert to his normal weight, which is 510 pounds, but he is estimated to be 1,500 or 2,000 pounds. The full extent and force of impact that Duke's body can withstand isn't fully known nor understood, and because of this he may have been one of the most powerful mutants within the Marvel Universe. Another unpredictable trait that Dukes has is the amount of stamina, speed, and fighting skills he has with his oversized body. Unlike any natural overweight man, Dukes has the same amount speed and endurance as an average well-fit man. Barely showing any signs of tiredness or fatigue, this unpredictable trait is another advantage that Dukes has over his opponents. When it comes to hand-to-hand combat, Dukes has found a self-taught fighting skill by using his brute size, intimidation, and his mutant ability. Most of the time, Dukes usually launches his entire body at a designated target, causing a massive effect. When it comes to close combat, Dukes naturally does one of two, by either overpowering the opponent with his massive size or entrapping them with his body. Without the use of his mutant ability and sheer size, Dukes naturally has basic street fighting skills. Dukes can lift a maximum of about 75 tons.